Welcome to my podcast. My name is Mindy Joan Garrett, and my podcast is called From Mormon to Mystic. It is about my journey out of the Mormon Church, and that took place 14 years ago in 2011, and I've learned a lot in these last 14 years. Been quite a journey of spiritual awakening, and I just really feel called that now is the time that I want to share more about my journey out of the church, especially for women who are in the church, maybe questioning, or there are things that they are unhappy with and don't know where to turn, or have been putting little things on their shelf, things that cause cognitive dissonance, and they might not even be aware that they're doing that. So this podcast is for them, first and foremost for Mormon women. And then beyond that, any woman who is stuck in a patriarchal religion and is questioning her faith, questioning the patriarchy. My dog's not going to let me. Hang on. Okay. So I've had a YouTube channel for the last 7 years. And that has helped me. The truth is, I guess first and foremost, I'm doing this for myself. And then beyond that, for Mormon women, or any woman that is stuck in a very patriarchal religion, who's questioning and considering that there might be another way. So I'm speaking mostly from just my experience, my point of view, leaving a patriarchal religion like the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which will be known in this podcast as the Mormon Church. I'm not going to be saying the full name. So this is for me, like I said, first and foremost, because I needed, it was time to speak more and to just say what I need to say. And I've had a YouTube channel for the past 7.5 years that has also kind of documented my journey, but not in a way like I'm going to share here. Probably going to say a lot. I wrote a book, and this is where the title of my podcast comes from. My book is Sacred Light, My Journey from Mormon to Mystic. Mindy Joan Garrett. And that's probably backwards, but I wrote this book. It was published in August of 2016, and this was my story of coming out of the church and finding my shamanic path. From Mormon to Mystic, that is how I see myself. In the last 14 years, I have become a member of 4 churches. So I'm still a member of the Mormon Church. And honestly, when I wrote this book, I should have been excommunicated at that time. But the church left me alone, and that will be one of the things I'll be sharing in a later episode. So I'm still a member of the Mormon Church. I've not canceled my membership. Canceled, like you can cancel it. It's a whole process to become a non-Mormon, and I have not gone through that process. Mostly due to my husband, who is still a believer. And one of the things I will be speaking on is how to navigate that path of walking a mixed faith household. Sorry if you can hear my son. He's gaming, and so yeah. So walking a mixed faith household is not an easy path. And we've navigated it for 14 years now. And so I do feel like I have a little bit to say about that. Not that we haven't considered divorce. We have many times in the last 14 years, but it has always come back to our children and our foundation of this home. So we have not gone down that road. We have not seriously gone down that road. We have 8 children and 4 grandchildren. And we still have quite a large household with me that live with us now. We have 5 children that live with us now and 2 grandchildren. So there's 9 of us in our home, plus the dog, who's being very needy right now and won't let me put her down. So that's just a little bit about us. As this podcast unfolds, I'll share a lot more about my family, because when I chose to leave the Mormon church, it disrupted everything. And so it took my family on quite a ride, and not one that they necessarily wanted to go on, but they didn't have a choice. So it will explore that. I will share some of that. So that's where the title From Mormon to Mystic comes from. So I'm still a Mormon, but in these last 14 years, I have found the spiritual path that I walk now. It's a shamanic path. It's an ancient religion. It goes back to many indigenous cultures that I've studied with in these last 14 years. So I'm also, in 2014, I was ordained as a Universal Life Church minister. And I talk about that in the book as well, and had the opportunity of marrying my second son and his wife. At the time, they are now divorced and living here with us. So I became a Universal Life Church member and minister in 2014. And then in 2021, I went through the Venus Rising transformational ministry program that they have. It's called SHIP, Shamanic Healing Initiatory Process. And I've done that 3 times because it is such a powerful healing modality. And then I also trained through them to become a breathwork facilitator. And I'll be sharing more about those 2 things as well. So I am technically a shamanic minister through Venus Rising Ministries. I did that in 2021. And just recently, again, went through their program just barely, like last month. Then I am also a medicine person for Aqaba Native American Church. And that is the newest ordainment that happened at the end of 2023. I went through a 2-year training program where we met every week and learned their teachings, the Yesemi Seminole tradition. But I was already a pipe carrier, and I talk about my experience with the Lakota medicine man and medicine woman who trained me to be the pipe carrier. That story's in my book. So I became a pipe carrier in 2015, and then went through the medicine person class and graduated in 2023. So it's been an incredible journey for me of just investigating my spirituality and what I believe now. So I haven't entirely given up the title of a Mormon. I still, recognize that I am a member of the church there, but I don't believe in it and I don't follow it. And I am only a member in name because of my husband. That was his request, and I have honored it. And like I said, I should have been excommunicated when I published my book. And that hasn't happened, so I am grateful for that, because excommunication is a messy process. But, so why now? 14 years later, I was in a breathwork session, and this last time through SHIP last month, and it was actually on Friday the 28th of February when all the planets were in a line, and I had an incredible experience with breathwork. Now, I have done some plant medicine with cannabis, peyote, ayahuasca, salvia, and I've talked about those experiences on my YouTube channel, which is Sacred Light, same title as my book. But I'm telling you that your breath can bring about just as powerful spiritual experiences or psychedelic experiences where you can see and hear things and experience things, just like you can do with plant medicine. So I was doing breath work. We usually do breath work for about an hour, and that's a connected breath. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we were doing this breath work, and I had an incredible vision. And this vision took me through many phases, many stages of my journey, my spiritual path, and what has brought me to this moment. And I will share more about that vision again in a different episode. But for this one, just kind of explaining why now, why I wanted to do this now, was because of this last breathwork session that I did. And it was shown to me very clearly that this is something that I need to do for myself, to speak my truth and to share my story, and that there will be a ripple effect, whether or not it's someone who's a Mormon who finds her way out of the church, or someone else who's on a spiritual seeker right now. But for me, it was just take a leap of faith and do this now. So that's what I'm doing because of a breathwork vision. And after the vision, after we do breathwork, we always do some kind of artwork that anchors the vision, anchors your experience into this physical reality. So we usually draw or color or paint some kind of picture from the vision. And then I always journal and write about what I see, hear, feel, all of that. And as I was journaling, I just came pouring out of me all the things that I want to talk about. As a Mormon woman, I spent 42 years of my life being silenced and shushed, and felt like I did not have a voice. And then after I left the church, most of my family was still in it, and I was in that same situation. I had no place to talk, to tell my story, to say why I left. What were the reasons? Nobody cared. And that just shocked the hell out of me. Like, even my husband, he didn't want to know. He didn't want to know why I left. He didn't want to know the problems. He was very happy to just, plug his ears and be like, Don't tell me my parents were that way. So I reached out to the few people in my life. I have a brother and a sister who I reached out to, who had also left the church. And I will be sharing my family of origin story in another episode, because the fact that I left the Mormon church was a huge factor in the disintegration, the shattering of my family of origin, because of my father's belief system. So ingrained in the Mormon mindset about children who leave the church. These are all things that, I'll get into more details later. This first one is just kind of laying the foundation, laying the groundwork, talking about why I'm doing this. And so, honestly, that is the reason I wrote my book, is because I had no voice. I had no outlet. I had no place. I had no one in my life that cared about why I left. So I started writing it down, and I told myself I was writing it down for my children, that they would want to know someday, that they would care about it. But the truth is, I now realize, all these years later, my book will have been published 9 years this year, and it wasn't for them. It was for me. It was because I would have gone crazy if I didn't say what I needed to say, and there was no safe place for me to say it. Like I said, people just didn't want to know, except for the few people who had already left the church. Those people in my family I could turn to, but there was 3 people, I think, between my husband's family and my family, all our siblings. One of his siblings has left but is still Christian. And then I have 2 siblings that are completely out of Christianity, as am I. So my pool of friends and family to talk to was very small. The majority, everybody else, was a believer and, didn't want to hear about any of the problems that I had found. And the next video I will share, the next podcast, I will talk about my journey out of the church, how that happened. And it's also in the book. But so yeah, I wrote the book for myself because I had no voice. And I'm doing this podcast now, again, because I feel like it's now time for me to use my voice and tell my stories in a better way than I have before. I'm still going to keep my YouTube channel up and going, but the podcasts I am going to drop every week. And again, it's for my own personal growth, being able to speak and tell my story and say what I've been through and where I envision going with my spiritual path. So basically, yeah, that is it in a nutshell. For this first episode, I think that's really all I wanted to share, was just my intention and my reason of doing this. And then we'll dive deep in the next ones. My intention is to post on Mondays, a new episode on Mondays, and it will just be me. I don't have intention to interview people in this podcast. It's just me speaking what I need to speak, say what I need to say. And I do believe that there are going to be women out there who need to hear what I'm going to say about the Mormon Church and about my spiritual journey. Yesterday was the International Women's day. I'm filming this on Sunday, March 9th. And so it's Women's Month. To me, it was like perfect timing to start something like this. I want to honor the women teachers in my life, the spiritual shamanic women that have come into my life and taught me. I wouldn't be where I am today without those women that stood up to patriarchal religions, visions, and stood their ground, and then brought their teachings and their work to other women. And I happen to be a teacher. I will say Linda Starwolf from Venus Rising is a very important teacher in my life, mentor. And then Linda Mooney from Ocklawaha Native American Church, also a powerful woman that has a powerful medicine woman. Both of those women are who have helped me really find my voice again and claim my space in this planet and do my sacred work. And part of which is that sharing my story and speaking it and not being afraid to speak my truth. All right, so I'm going to end that here and just say I will see you next time. Thanks for listening.